Hello everyone, it's Adam here. So here's the GS. We have the seat removed. We're going to be installing, ta-da, the rear ESA shock from Tractive, branded Touratech. Plug and play, has ESA, my essays, and we're going to be installing it today. I'm going to go through how to do that. For starters, you want to make sure that your bike is in one person mode, hard, and for some reason road. I doubt that really matters actually. Make sure. So road, one person, sure. And done, off. Boom, okay. So we're going to have the seat removed. So first step is gonna be, I'm gonna remove the ECU, I'm gonna remove the fuel. So removing this guy here, that's pretty simple. Removing the seat holder, then we're gonna remove these 4 bolts holding in the fuel tank. And then we're going to be unhooking and removing the Bosch controller, as well as unplugging this guy here, which is really easy. You just kind of pull back and it comes right out. I'll do that with a tool though. You have to push a little pin right to the hold, pull it out. Once we do that, we're going to unhook bolts on both sides. We're going to do this one here after removing, I have a frame plug installed. Remove this, take that out. For some reason it has us removing these 2 on both sides as well. And we're removing the rally guard to get to the bolt that's right here. And then finally, this bolt here that holds the shock in. So let's get started with this awesome, fun install of the Tractive suspension on a GS Adventure liquid cooled. Okay, so we have the bracket installed. The best way to get this off without removing this is actually to take all 4 of the screws out, including the slippers pieces here. You'll see them over here. These little slip pieces there. You take all 4 of those out, then you can kind of pick the bracket up a little bit and then move it straight off of here. This part obviously was pushing. I used a little tiny flathead to push into the hole. And now to remove the ECU, it's actually not that hard. I'm just gonna push down on these tabs on the left and right. Well, now that we have that out of the way, look how much dirt and sand is down here. So removing this was pretty easy actually. After I pushed that down, I pulled these panels, they were in. I pulled these panels all the way out. They're 2 actual connectors total. Look how many electronics are going through this bike at the same time. Pretty impressive how far technology is coming. This probably has like a quad-core processor in it. Let's take some cleaner and air compressor, and I'll push this all out of here. And then I believe what we're looking for here is these 2 units here. These are the ESA controls. The unit is telling me to separate both of these, get these both unplugged, and then proceed from there. All right, on the left and right side, I removed the rally frame guards, by the way. I'll put them back on with some 3M tape and zip ties. But for now, we're going to loosen this one that allows the rear, the subframe to lift up in the air. But for that to lift up in the air, we have to remove the left and right bolts on this side, left and right bolts on both sides. So that needs to come loose. That needs to be removed on both sides. This needs to be loose. They're saying to loosen up these here as well. I don't really see why, so I'm gonna hold off on these for now, see if we can get away with it. And then finally, they want you to remove the bolt here, and then remove the bolt here in order to get the shock out. But first, they recommend lifting the back up before you loosen these up and remove them. The bike is in the center stance. There's no weight at all on the back wheel or on the shock. And I've got some paracord and bungee cord that I'll use to lift this up and affix it up there. I also have my girlfriend upstairs who can hold it if she needs to, but I'm trying to involve her in my projects too much. Keep the motorcycling separate. So we're gonna proceed with that, and then I'll get back to you guys. So what we've done is it is moving now. You can see here, it's loose. So what we've done is we have rigged up this apparatus to the rear rack. And I wanted to show you guys something of concern here. Something of concern is that it doesn't include instructions that you need to actually remove the exhaust silencer carrier, because what's happening is as I lift back on the bike, the silencer or muffler goes with it. Well, the muffler is affixed to the headers down here, which are a part of the normal frame. So we'll need to unhook this to free up that muffler to let it hang out freely while we remove the shock. Okay, so now everything is rigged up. Silencer is disconnected. All I have to do is just remove this one bolt here and it's ready to move. Now all we're gonna do is we're gonna fully remove the T55s that are right here and right there. That's the top and the bottom end of the shocks. So this bolt, this lower bolt here, was probably going to break my bit. So I'm just trying, I'm moving the heat gun around a little bit. The top bolt, totally fine. I'm moving the heat gun around a little bit just to hopefully get this bolt here that goes all the way through just a little bit loosened up with the Loctite. It's very semi-permanent Loctite, so very, very stiff in there. That rear bolt is definitely the heaviest or the hardest to get out. Took about 10 minutes of heat. I would do it every couple minutes, give it a try and see if you can get it out with less than that. About 10 minutes of heat to get that loosened up. I started lifting the back up a little bit, and then it says to fully remove the rear bolt and then the top bolt. I found out for myself why you do remove these guys, because this isn't able to move any higher because it's sitting completely on the footrest. So sorry to say, you got to remove these to proceed. Now we know, and don't make my mistake. So we have to remove the muffler as well, and the reason why is when I lift this up, even though this wants to stay put, it catches on this, and this removing this part, this arm here for the Jesse rack requires removing the silencer because the bolts are underneath here facing upwards, and you can't get a wrench down underneath them to get that loose. So I'm gonna remove the silencer really easy. It's just 3 bolts here, 1, 2, 3, and then a big one here. I think it's probably 11 or 12 millimeter. Okay, silencer is out. It's really easy to do. I've probably done it 5 times so far. Good time to clean this off with an air compressor and clean all that area off well. Let's make sure this works. There we go. Lifting right up. No problems whatsoever from what I can tell. And let's hope that's high enough. We will see. It looks pretty cool from this angle. Definitely not rideable. I'm so happy that this model has the rear subframe that's so easy to remove versus the oil-cooled model. The shock has 2 plugs on it. And in order to get them out, here's the ones coming through now. It's this guy here. It's a 2-prong. In order to get those out, you have to unhook them from back here and then snake them through right there. It's much easier if you remove the battery tray, which is just two screws. It's like T30s. And then once you come out, you've got your ESA plug here, and it just is a 4-prong like that. Comes right out. So it's connected to the shock absorber, so that'll need to come out for you to remove the spring. So the strap was good to kind of be my staging agent, but really when it came to removing the whole thing, you really have to pick the whole thing up in the air in order to really get in there. So again, 2-hour operation. I really need a buddy. The buddy part was kind of defeated by the strap holding it up in the air while I kind of worked things around. And then once I got things worked around, this part just lifts right up in the air, no problem. Whew. So to get that shock out, what I did was I went under here with the screwdriver. I grabbed this little spot right there, this little piece of metal, and used as a fulcrum and pulled that backward, which dropped the shock down enough to clear the upper area. Now this comes right out. Woot woot. Obviously, you have to lift this part up to get it out, but it cleared this little area. So basically what had happened was the shock had moved forward. So if your shock moved forward in this hole to this direction, then you got to use a screwdriver to pull it backward. Then you can drop it down and get it out easily. What we've done is we put the top bolt back in. Bottom bolt is not back in yet. I just threaded these about 5 or 6 times on each side of the rear subframe. And then I used the jack stand to lift the front end off in order to put pressure on the rear swing arm. And slowly, it's bringing the whole of the suspension right back in line with the hole in order to get this bolt through. Once that bolt's through, then I can proceed with basically putting everything back together. Maybe first what I'll do is I'll get the rigs here kind of in place. That way I can get those staged and then basically assemble it all back together. Whew, a lot of torquing. All right, the 2 suspension bolts are back in. So all we have right now is we just kind of have this staged. What I'm going to do is mount this guy up here maybe, like that. And then I'll have to run this cable though back to the control unit. And then basically this will be about 20 minutes or so of cable management in this area. All right, underneath the bike, we have our reservoir stored. So what I did is I basically ran this until it got, you know, not bending too much, not too straight, and then put this guy right there around the rear frame underneath the Jesse brackets. All the cables are connected. There is one important note. The cable coming off of the reservoir does have a note on it. Do only connect 2 controllers. So the 2 cables coming off the reservoir go into the controller. The 3-prong off the bike goes into the controller, and then the threaded cable off the shock itself goes into the ESA connection. So they all kind of merge that way. So basically 2 components of the bike, the shock and the reservoir, are connecting to, or what, the shock is connected to the bike, the reservoir is connected to here, and the bike's connected to here. So bike connects to 2 places basically. So I got the ECU back connected. I'm just gonna make sure there are no fault codes when I start it up here. Okay, good. No errors, so that's good. And so let's continue with the cable management, I guess. Right now it looks like a mess under here, but it's just want to make sure that everything worked good. Now we can connect it all down, which is right there. But this is pretty much it. So you can't even tell it's installed. It's actually underneath. You see a little bit of the cord right there. It's actually underneath the ECU. When you go back in the back here, you see the reservoir cable. Not a lot of tension at all. I mean, it's a very hard cable, but there's plenty of play in it. And then back here, we got some zip ties, which I'll try to manage a little differently over time. When it's possible that I'll make changes, I don't usually commit fully, so I haven't trimmed these back yet either. But it's the tube is underneath here, and the reservoir runs down. The cord itself runs down. You can see it right there into the bed. And then on the other side, I actually have the nylon cable is zip tied to various parts with plenty of play. You see it right there hanging down. It's not touching the catalytic converter, but there's plenty of play that if I went full extended spring, it wouldn't get pulled on. But then not touching the cat, and then fed up here. It's also zip tied right there underneath the battery terminal there, and then up, down, and then back in here through a little channel down there behind the ECU. The nylon cable was kind of a challenging part of the install because I see a lot of guys make it loose. Loose I didn't like. It was touching the catalytic converter. So I tried to manage it where it had plenty of play without being free range. So I just gotta reinstall the bolts here, put the silencer back on, make sure the torque spec is correct on the bolts, and I think jvbproductions.com has a wet head LC torque spec list, so you can go there for that list. And then silencer back on, and then we're done. So I guess thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate it. This is the first liquid-cooled GS spring install I've seen a video of that I've made here. Oh, and also I put this back on too. So I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope this was enjoyable. The biggest thing would be, you know, once you've got everything lifted out, just make sure that you take the spring and you pick it up and then move it forward towards the front of the bike, and then it'll drop down in the space between the catalytic converter and the swing arm. Then you can pull the top back. If you try to pull the bottom out first, no bueno. And try to pull the top out first, also doesn't work. You got to drop that spring down to get it out of there. That took me about an hour or so fiddling around with different configurations of getting it to work, but I think that was finally working out. So best of luck with your install. BMW wants over $300 for the front and rear springs, so I hope saved you guys some money. And yeah, I'll close it now. Okay, ride safe, take care. Thanks for watching.